And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Star Trek, the deck building game. This is the original series. Incidentally, this game is not the first in the series. They actually did Next Generation first, which makes sense since that's vastly superior to the original series. Ho ho, flame bait! But anyhow, this is, from what I have heard, it's essentially the same game. I have not played the original. This is the first Star Trek deck building game that I've played. Now, I like deck building games. I like the idea of deck building games, but I'm very wary these days because it is the popular thing to do right now. It seems like it's dying out a bit, but still very popular thing to do. And there's a lot of ones out there that aren't so very impressive. Where does this one fall? Well, let us see. This is a deck building game, and what that means is each player is going to get some cards that they're going to take and have their own deck. Everyone gets the same cards. So you might get a couple ensign cards, you might get a couple lieutenant cards, a tricorder. Everyone gets the same deck of cards, and you'll be shuffling this deck of cards, and you'll be drawing 5 of these cards and using those 5 cards in your turn. When you're done using them, whether you use them to buy other cards or to accomplish a mission, whatever happens, whether you use the cards or not, your whole hand is discarded and you would draw new cards into your hand. And when you buy cards and add them to your deck will get better. That's the basic concept of a deck building game. This game is all about accomplishing missions. Now, in this game, you are trying to accomplish missions. You'll build a missions deck before the game, and each of these missions has a certain amount of points that it's worth. You're going to decide before the game starts how many points you're playing to. You might be playing to 300 points, 400 points, however long of a game you want. And each mission, when it's accomplished, will give 50, 25 points. Usually 50, 25, 75. There is even at least one that's, here's the Doomsday Machine, that's worth 100 points. Okay, so the way you will do this, you're mostly going to be using these 3 unsung heroes at the top here. These are cards in your deck, the ensign, the lieutenant, and the commander. Now, each card, if you notice here, the ensign has, in the middle here, 1 experience, plus 1 experience. That's basically money. You will use that to buy other cards. I don't know why they call it experience. When you play, let's say you have 3 ensigns in your hands, you play them, you can buy any card that costs 3. The cost of a card is up here at the top. So if I have 3 ensigns, I can buy myself a lieutenant. If I have 2 lieutenants and an ensign, I can buy myself a commander. If I get a whole pile of money, I can go down here and buy myself Kang or Kong, or whatever his name is. I know Trekkies are already mad at me. That's not the only stats that people have. They have other stats on here. You have a speed, attack, diplomacy, and shields. So each ensign also has +1 attack. Lieutenants have +1 speed. Commanders have +1 attack and +1 speed. And our good friend here has +1 speed, +4 attack, +2 diplomacy. Gives other Klingon characters in the bridge +1 speed and +1 attack. By the way, bridge just means the cards you play in front of them. And all of the cards give you different stats and different abilities, and you're going to need those stats and abilities to accomplish those missions that I was talking about earlier. For example, to accomplish this Deadly Years one, you're going to need 6 speed or 6 experience. Here you need 4 speed, 4 attack, or 6 experience. So each one will have different ones. The ones that cost more, I mean, this one that's 75 needs 7 attack and 4 experience. This gentleman here needs 5 diplomacy, and there's all sorts of things. That big Doomsday Machine that we saw earlier needed 12 attack to take that sucker out. And so each of these has, and you'll notice all different episodes. When I was playing with a Trekkie, he would say, "Oh, I recognize this person from that episode and this thing from that episode," to the point where you're gonna, if you're like me, want to tell these Trekkies to shut up, really. But the game does have the people that we all know and love. You can see here, there's Chekhov, and there's, let's see what else. We have Spock. Oh, everyone loves Spock. And then we have Sulu. In fact, all the main characters are in this game. And there can be multiple versions. This is Looney Sulu, and then there's regular Sulu, and Abraham Lincoln. Yay. And then, oh, McCoy, best character. But everyone's favorite character is the next one, and that is, of course, Khan! Okay, so anyhow, yes, Kirk's in the game too, don't worry. But there's lots of different characters in the game. So on your turn, you are allowed to take one of these cards, discard it, and draw another one to put in its place if you'd like to. If you buy these cards, they also go in its place. You discard cards from your hand. You can buy whatever ones you want. Or you can turn over the top card from the missions deck and try to accomplish it. When you turn over a card, something might happen that you have to deal with, but then it stays face up till somebody accomplishes that mission. Some of the cards, when you turn them face up, means everyone has to fight one another. When that happens, you can throw any cards from your hand down, put them in your spaceship, like this, and I'll say, okay, my spaceship here has a 4 speed, 4 attack, and 8 health and 1 shield. So we look and see who has the highest speed. That person shoots first. They do their attack against someone else's shield, and you take damage. 20-sided dice, woo! No, you don't get to roll them, which is very sad. Instead, these are used to track the life of your ships. If your ship explodes, then you lose some cards, and it's not really that big of a deal, but it's really annoying when that happens. So anyhow, you keep going till someone reaches the predestined mission total, point total. Everybody starts with one mission, so you always have one that only you're working on, hopefully. Although if that duplicate mission shows up from the pile and someone else beats it, you can't do your predestined mission. And that's basically it. There's different things going on, but mostly you're getting cards from middle and accomplishing missions, and occasionally having to fight everyone. I would not consider myself to be a Trekkie at all. I like the TV shows. I very much enjoy the Next Generation, have watched episodes from all the other ones, have watched a good bunch of the movies, have read a lot of the books. The Kobashi Maru one is one of my favorite books I've ever read. I very much enjoy these books, but, you know, I don't know what stuff comes from what episode and so on. However, I like the theme of Star Trek. It's not as great as Star Wars, of course. It's not even a question. But I like the theming of Star Trek a lot. I like the space theme. And that is where this game falls apart a little bit. Because the theme in this game is just, they took a game, they took a deck building game. They said, you know what, instead of having one currency, let's do more than one. Someone said, well, do you know Ascension does money and fighting? They'll say, we can beat that. We're going to put 5 different currencies in this game. And that is essentially what they've done. They have money, experience, they have attack, they have diplomacy and speed, and I guess shields isn't used very much for currency, but it could be. And so they have all these things, and so there's so much going on. So it looks complex and involved and interesting, and it's not, though. It's super duper 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 light. Because you really can't control anything. You don't know what missions are going to turn up. You don't know what cards are going to come up in the middle. Your deck is, it's super light, and there's so much text that's vast on the cards that's a bit problematic. Now, do the stats match the characters? Well, you can argue that once you come home, but I'll tell you this. Very rarely, if ever, did I feel any kind of theme from this game. I was grabbing cards from the middle, putting them in my deck, and then playing them. That's it. I never felt like, well, oh, in my ship I have these people. No, I got Captain Kirk, in mine, but you did too, and then I got Sulu, and well, you did too. I never felt the theme. I didn't think that the theme worked against this game, and some cards the theme does come out a little bit better than others, but nothing overly impressive. So, that's problematic. Another thing is, I hate the ship fighting. And you might think, whoa, Vasel, we thought, that would be the one thing about this game you would like the best. You're right, I did. But this is a deck building game. So I'm sitting here doing my deck, and all of a sudden, randomly, you don't know when these are going to come up, there's a battle. And you have a handful of cards, and you're finally going to be able to buy that one card that you've been trying to buy for a while, and instead, you have to waste time fighting other players. And it doesn't matter whether you win or lose, you're still going to lose the cards, because if you don't use the cards in battle, then you're going to lose, and you're going to lose your whole hand anyway. And if you commit the cards in battle to fight the battle, well, then you've lost them. So it's kind of this random chaotic factor. And your ship gets blown up several times over the game, and it's a pain in the neck. It doesn't feel fun at all. I never felt like, woo, shooting ships at people. I felt like I was playing a mechanical deck builder that had these weird rules written into it. So, as you can see, this is not a very super positive review. they did a good job getting the artwork and the pictures in the game, and they did a good job putting as much Star Trek into this game as they possibly could. And that's about it. The deck builder, the whole play itself, it's not horrible. I didn't unenjoy the game, but it is not in the top 50% of deck builders. It's really lackluster. It's really random, and it just doesn't have that fun factor. So I'm gonna have to pass on this one. Sorry.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at dicetower.com. You can also find the latest board game news at dicetowernews.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Fun Again Games, the world's best game source. Fun Again Games has over 5,000 games available. Check them out at funagain.com.
Shut the door.